In his college life, Elon Musk made a list of sectors which are going to have major impact on growth of humanity. The internet, sustainable energy, and space exploration. This led to the goal of sending humans to Mars. He did the research on cost of rockets and found out that it takes roughly $65 million. That's a huge amount. We all know what he did next. Let's find out how he did it. Have you ever heard of the term premature optimization? I'm pretty sure you haven't, but you have definitely experienced it. Remember the time when you made a trip plan? You optimized it perfectly by researching about every small detail, like the weather of your destination city, availability of accommodation, to the price of the beer. All this planning was based on an extremely fundamental assumption: your friends will go with you. But it turns out that they can't go. This is a classic case of premature optimization. You make a plan based on some fundamental assumption and start optimizing the plan, but it turns out that the assumption was wrong. You can avoid this by thinking from the first principles, also known as the physics way of thinking. In this method, you boil things down to the most fundamental truths and reason up from there, as told by the real-life Iron Man in his Foundation 20 interview. What this means is that follow a bottom-up approach. Start with the most basic and fundamental truths and make deduction from them. In contrast to this is thinking by analogy. According to Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, an analogy is a comparison between two objects that highlights their similarities. Analogical reasoning cites accepted similarities between two systems to support the conclusion that further similarity exists. This is the easier way of thinking, as we can easily spot similarities between two events. History doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. This type of thinking brings in incremental progress, but thinking from first principles can cause a paradigm shift. Aristotle defined the first principles 2000 years ago. In his own words, the first basis from which a thing is known are the first principles. René Descartes used the Cartesian doubt system to apply this model. This method includes accepting only the information you know is true, breaking down these truths into smaller units, solving simple problems first, making complete lists of further problems. This is the base behind the quote, cogito ergo sum. This methodology will help you to decrease your frequency of wrong decisions. If your aim is to be consistently right, the best possible way should be to be wrong less often. This may sound trivial, but it is a very powerful way of thinking. Carl Jacobi, a German mathematician, always said, "Man muss immer umkehren," which loosely translates to invert, always invert. Inversion means thinking about a problem from an inverse perspective. This will be the topic for our next video. Here, it means that to achieve the things you want, find the things that you should avoid and avoid them at all costs. First principle thinking is the difference between a chef's approach and a cook's approach. Cooks rely on cookbook recipes and can't create a new dish. On the other hand, chefs are aware of the first principles of cooking and can create amazing and innovative dishes from scratch. Another great man who is aware of the first principle approach is our handsome hunk Dominic Toretto. This gentleman enlightened us by declaring, "The only thing that matters is who is behind the wheel," and went on to prove that with a rusty old car. After seeing all this, I'm sure you can figure out how Elon built SpaceX. He approached the problem with this same methodology. He asked to himself, what is required to build a rocket? And sadly, having a degree in rocket science was nowhere on that list. He found out the basic constituents: aerospace grade aluminum alloys, titanium, copper, and carbon fiber. Then he went ahead to find the value of these things on the commodity market. The results were shocking. He came to know that the material cost of a rocket was only 2% of the typical price. Then instead of buying a finished rocket, he made it himself nearly 10 times cheaper while still making a profit. In a Reddit AMA, Musk answered on his way of learning. In his own words, it is important to view knowledge as a sort of a semantic tree. Make sure you understand the fundamental principles, the trunk and big branches, before you get to the leaves details, or there is nothing for them to hang on to. Now this gentleman is the modern epitome of invention and is never ever concerned about his circle of competence. Does this mean that the previous video was BS? No. Each and every mental model is useful but not applicable to every scenario. Mental models should be used as per the context of the situation. Getting back to our present topic. The moral of the story is, in order to be consistently right, be wrong less frequently. Achieve this by reasoning from the first principles. You can find the first principles of a problem by using Cartesian doubt or syllogism reasoning, or do it the Musk way by following these steps. Consider the invention of motor vehicles. When everybody rode horses, they felt that there is no need for a car. Horses are cheap, they eat grass, which is easily available everywhere. We don't have enough gasoline to sell everywhere. Step 1. Identify and define the current assumptions. Step 2. Break down problem into its first principles. In this case, there will be: we need a transport, it should be fast and reliable, and its fuel should be readily available. Step 3. Create new solutions from scratch. Create a sports car, or maybe just a regular car. And at last, a pro tip. Engineering में बहुत scope है. Is not a first principle. It's not even a 50th principle in my opinion. If you found this video interesting, like the video, share your reviews in the comment section, and please subscribe to the channel to get more amazing videos like this directly to your inbox. We will meet again in another video with some other interesting information. Till then, bye bye, take care.